Welcome back, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. One second. All right. Welcome back, everyone. How we doing? All right. So today, big day, possibly, maybe, hopefully. Some nice downside to start the day. A little bit of panic there in the last few minutes, down into some major spots. Should be an interesting day, I'd say. Definitely a lot of watches. One of those days where you got to sort of find the one you want to focus on because there's so many. I think that definitely played into, that was sort of yesterday as well. A lot of things sort of made the same move, but if you were sort of looking all over the place, it was really just the right thing to just pay attention to one. So that's what I'm going to try to focus on today. What's the top ones? What are the top three? What are the ones I like the most? And sort of really focus in on those because there's hundreds. There's a lot of things that look good today, a lot of things that have opportunity. And, yeah, you can't really watch that many names. So this morning, some downside. You're trading into some big monthly lows on the QQQ, some big monthly lows on the NASDAQ. You got unemployment claims and jolts today, so some economic data. And then on top of that, you had earnings yesterday from Google. You got AMD with a massive gap below. And then today, what earnings do we have? Today, we have Amazon earnings tonight. Amazon and MicroStrategy tonight. But Google, ARM, Qualcomm yesterday. I think they all did pretty shit, to be honest. Snap didn't do anything. Google, ARM went down. Sort of, wow. ARM's sort of outperforming right now somehow. I don't know how. Qualcomm went down quite a bit. But, okay. We got a lot to talk about, so let's just jump right into it. Yeah, a lot to talk about. If you guys want to see my losing trades from yesterday, make sure to check out the video. Who the hell is this? What the hell? I got a weird text. Okay, sorry about that. Very strange text. All right. Let's jump in. If you want to see my losing trades from yesterday, make sure to go watch the live video that I posted. Okay, let's do it. So today, NASDAQ futures. Really clean structure in terms of downside right now. Yesterday's call, amazing. Just awesome. I wish I would have caught more of my read, but again, something that I have to be humble and be what we always need to remember is that you can call out things that does not give you some, it cannot give you some kind of a big head, because you can call out things until your face turns blue, but you have to be able to catch them. That is what it's all about. It's executing the ideas. So yesterday, the ideas that we had, the ability to flip bearish yesterday on the drop of a dime and notice it was incredible. Everything we looked at, our thesis, our bias yesterday was spot on. Wasn't able to catch it. So today, a little bit more focused on execution. That's definitely important today. Again, today, you're seeing failures of previous lows. So Monday's lows, Tuesday's lows, Wednesday here turning into rejections. This is a very clear, once again, rejection of previous lows. So this is showing you how a market flips bearish, right? You are now turning previous lows into highs, previous lows into highs, right? You're now structuring lower. So this is important to pay attention to as the market starts to structure in a different direction. You are starting to now see sort of this downtrending move, right? So today, what are we going to look for? Well, I don't like shorting into lows. I'll tell you that, right? Shorting into lows in a downtrend is never the right call. That is just not, simply just not the right way to do it. We need to look for bounces and fades. And so today, the bounce and fade would have been up here, right? This was really the bounce and fade you wanted today, into the Tuesday low, into this Wednesday rejection point, little bounce, little fade right in that area. Maybe it still happens, but you did already get this drop here in the pre-market. So today, a little bit difficult to short early morning. You have the previous day low here at 24,780, which I would be very careful at. You have the December low at 24,887. And then I also sort of like this pre-market low right here. So I will be watching this area today, right between here, between 24,887 and 24,915. This is not a bad spot to be looking to see if we get some kind of a pop and fade area. So right here, if we go to the shorter term time frames, we can see that yesterday we did get some reaction holds in this area. 24,887, 24,915.75. I don't mind maybe looking to see if this area can pop and fade today. So it was this hold from yesterday, this pre-market low, and then where you pretty much just tanked below. So this could be an interesting pop and fade here as well. This could be a spot to be watching. But I just don't know how much I like shorting into this previous day low at 24,780. And then on top of that, this is a big spot down here, 24,650, 24,680. Let me show you this spot. 24,650, 24,680. If we go to the 4-hour chart, we can see some major lows in here. Here. This was a big pivot right here. And so that will be a big spot on the NASDAQ futures below. If you do break below that 24,650, then I think the party could begin again. Under 650, you have this high here at 567, but below that, it looks a little bit quiet, right? It looks a little bit quiet under there. So the party, I would say, really begins if you break under 24,650 on the NASDAQ futures. But you can see right now, you're getting a pretty sharp recovery off that level right now, and you did reclaim previous day low. So that, to me, is a little bit tough. So a tough spot to be short into this morning, this 650, this previous day low. Don't love that. I would rather see some pops into this high or into this low here, or even pops into here for better pop and fade opportunities. But we shall see how that strength or weakness shows. The QQQ clears this up a little bit. Let me show you how this QQQ clears this up. The QQQ has a December low, which was exactly previous day's lows, and it's right here at 600.28 and that 600 psychological level. So I would say that 600 is where you'd want to see the break below today to be very confident in downside continuation. So if you look at this 4-hour chart, the QQQ has a very clear previous low right here. This is also the December low, and that's at 600.28. That is not a spot that I would be aggressively short into, but if we do fail below it, you have quite a bit of action, I'd say, to the downside, and you have a gap to fill from 595 to 590. So I don't mind looking for the downside today if we can fail back under previous day low on the Qs. If we are holding it like this and trapping below it, that to me is a concern. That to me would be something I'd be very careful of. So a little bit tough there in the current state with the current drop that came in and then sort of the trap below yesterday's lows. I don't really love that in terms of an early morning short. Where I would have preferred this short is right here, which did already set up in the pre-market, which is fantastic. Look at that. Previous lows, into highs, and what a fail lower. I have to apologize to everyone out there because there is a level yesterday that I failed to have on my charts that I absolutely should have had on my charts, and it was the perfect spot, and I missed it. And so this was something I definitely missed yesterday, and I think it led me to lose, to be quite honest. And the level that I am talking about, that I forgot to put on my charts, that I failed to put on my analysis, was right here at 613.18. This 613.18 level, which is exactly this 4-hour high and this 4-hour high, as you can see, a very clear pivot high. This level was an absolute perfection spot yesterday. I mean, it could not have been better. Remember this with me. 613.18, right? Remember that level. Now watch what happens when I go to the 1-minute chart. Look at 613.18 yesterday. Look at how perfect that level was yesterday when it turned in from holds into rejections, and not only that, that was exactly the daily 100 SMA. This was the level yesterday, right here. This was it. This was the money spot. Absolute dead-on money spot yesterday was 613.18. I failed to put that on my charts yesterday. It was absolutely perfect. Look at that flip here from lows to highs, from the daily 100 SMA rejection. That was the level. So that will be a level that I would continue to have on your charts moving forward. This is going to be a big-ass spot right here, 613.18. Any pushes towards that level, I would consider that a potential rejection point. For now, I don't love that you dropped here in the pre-market because it does sort of mess up some risk-reward situations. The only next short for me would set up under yesterday's lows. Under 600.28, that would be the spot. If we can do that today, break and retest the PDL on the Qs, then I think we got a nice move towards 595 and maybe even a gap to fill towards 590. If we mess around at previous day lows, you got to be careful of the traps here, okay? You got to be careful of the traps at yesterday's lows. That's the only thing I'll say. It could be trappy down there, okay? All right, S&P 500 is right on the edge. We are right on the edge today on the S&P 500. You can see that yesterday we moved lower into this low from last Friday, and you can see that we held that level yesterday, and we are sitting at that level once again. This is going to be a very important spot today. Do we get under 68.63? Do we fail below the 68.63 low, and do we fail below the daily 100 SMA? If we do that, I would say that you unravel a little bit on this S&P, possibly down towards 68.46, and then possibly down towards the January lows at 68.14. This is a big spot today, guys, on the S&P 500. This is the 100 SMA. Not only that, this is a major previous high right here, major lows and pivots here, major low right here, and you can see we're sitting right at it at the daily 100 SMA, a big spot. If you fail that, I think you can unravel a little bit towards this 68.46, possibly lower towards this January low, and again, maybe even targeting this December low at 67.70. That is possible as well. But it is all going to be about what happens right here at previous day's lows and the daily 100 SMA. Huge spot. Huge, huge spot. 1 second. Bear with me. What the hell? I'm trying to close this. I shorted some SNDK shares in the pre-market, and I want to close some of them. So bear with me. Boom. Took half off. All right. All right. So, cautious there. Right into that 68, 68, 68, 63. Daily 100 SMA. All right. SPY. 30-minute chart. SPY. Lows. Major spot here today as well. You guys can see right here. 681.76, 681.90. That's going to be a big spot to be watching today. If we break below that low, I don't see much until here at 680. Below that, I don't see much until the January low at 676. So right here and right here, 680, 676. If we break below that 682 low and low, I only see this and I only see this. So it could get a little bit slippery once again if we break below these two lows. Below here, that's 681.76. If you break that, 679.82, 680, and then daily 100 at 676. Okay? Something you can look for in terms of rejections today on the S&P would be this Tuesday low, 684. So you can see right here, this 684, this 684. If you look at the ES, that's right here, 688, 68.86. See that Tuesday low, which is also that pre-market low? So right in here, this could be a nice little spot actually. So let's watch that. I wouldn't mind looking for that in terms of a potential bounce and fade potential. Tuesday's lows, pre-market lows, right there. That was actually an important pivot here this morning. 68.86, 68.88. On the SPY, that is 684 to right here at 684.40. Yep, I like that spot. I would watch that a little bit. That will also be important if the market recovers. If the market reclaims that Tuesday low, then there could be a reason to back off the short idea, right? So if we get back above this Tuesday low right here, you might want to back off the short idea because that could be an important reclaim ripper type of move. And that's also coming off of the previous day low, okay? All right. So I guess the number one thing that I would sort of put out there today, the number one thing that I would advise you guys for is watch out for previous day's lows. Be very careful trading at previous day's lows. Be very careful being too aggressive short at that low, especially if you start to see some bear traps being set, right? We've already seen a little bit of a trap right now, right? We've swept that low to start this morning. You can see right here, swept the low. So if this does hold and doesn't sort of cleanly fail back under, there's going to be some traps that are set here, and I would be careful shorting at this exact previous day low. Okay? That's going to be a very, very important thing to pay attention to. All right, SMH. So here is something I would absolutely pay attention to today. This is probably going to lead a lot of decisions for me today, and it is the SMH. And the reason it is so important is because look at the level you have traded down into. You have traded down into a massive, 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 massive previous double top high on this 4-hour chart. If you go to the daily chart, right, look at what you have retested. Major daily highs, major daily highs. So this is exactly the low of day. And this is exactly which actually created an incredible long opportunity yesterday. Look at this long opportunity yesterday off this level. Great. I mean, a fantastic pullback long spot. Now, today, you are trading right into it again. And so for me, this is a very difficult spot to be looking to short into. Now, if we break below it, that is a very interesting short at that point. If you break below this high at 372.78 and you break below the daily 50 here on the SMH, there is not much below. I would say this 360 spot is possible. Maybe these highs right around this 367 is possible. But there is absolutely going to be a short opportunity in the short term if you break below the 372.78 daily high. So if you see this level fail here, I'm going to assume there is definitely some more downside coming into the SMH. That is, again, a major daily high right here. Look at this. Right there. Okay? So watch out for that. There is a gap to fill still on the SMH, which we can actually mark out from here. It's actually from 368.84 down to 360. That's technically the gap. You could put a level at the high a day at 365.57. This would be technically the exact, where there's absolutely no price action. But technically the gap is from here to here. As you can see, this is the close, this is the open. So that technically is a massive gap on the SMH. Could be something to be looking for. You can mark this out, say gap below. And something we can definitely look for, that would be a gap below that low from this on the January 2nd. If we go to the 30-minute chart and we get some more time, let's take a look at that without the after hours on. So let's see what that looks like. So that is right here, my friends. As you can see, here to here, massive gap right in here. That is 368.84 to 360. So that could be something you keep your watch on today. I don't know about that hitting today, but who knows? So just I'd say keep that on the watch list. Keep the gap fill in mind if the SMH is weak once again. Okay? All right. Yeah, the XLP continues to be very strong, outperforming this market. I'll just sort of pop that into the live stream today. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but just know that the XLP is continuing to outperform stocks like Walmart, stocks like Costco, stocks like Philip Morris, stocks even like Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree, if you check out this weekly chart on Dollar Tree. All right, this is another stock that performs well in sort of a panic environment. Look at Dollar Tree on this weekly high. Look at Dollar Tree on this daily chart. Look at this little retest that's going on here on Dollar Tree. Yesterday, it was up around 2% with the market downside. So if you are interested in catching an outperformer, keep an eye on the XLP and keep an eye on the XLY, the consumer discretionary as well. 122. Above that, you probably run to this 126. I have an alert at 126. I'll probably put an alert at 122 as well. I'm not sure I'm interested in trading the outperformers today. Maybe. But if you are looking for some outperformers, the XLP is definitely something to pay attention to. Bitcoin getting smoked. It's funny, man. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to say this. There's times where I'm very happy I never invested in Bitcoin, and then there's times I'm very upset I never invested in Bitcoin. But I guess this is a moment I'm pretty happy I haven't. But maybe there's a moment here soon where I should start to think about it again. whether I want to get invested, whether I want to start my first, real Bitcoin position. Right now, I don't have anything in terms of Bitcoin. This is a pretty massive break under 42 on IBIT. It's really not a very good break under 42. You're now at 39, which is pretty ugly. Yeah. Under 42, if you see 40, I would say look for 42 rejections. If you see pop and fades at 42, that would be your entry point if you're looking short IBIT. You can already see it rejected. Wow, that was a great rejection yesterday at 42. I didn't even see that. Yeah, that would be the entry point. 42 for me. If it gets there, I'll be interested. If not, I'm not chasing Bitcoin downside. Okay. What else do I want to go over in terms of markets? We went over NASDAQ, ES, SPY, Qs, SMH, IWM, slight outperformance, but I don't know if that's going to last. I would say look to see if the IWM breaks below this 259 today. IWM under this 259 previous all-time high could get a little bit slippery. So that's something you could watch for today. 259 on the IWM. Right now it is holding. It's attempting to hold very strong. If it holds, there's no short here. If it fails below 259, there is some interest, possibly down into previous day lows. So I'll go ahead and create an alert below 259 on IWM and see if that gets triggered today. Okay, let's talk about some individual equities. If you guys could, please press that like button. 2,000 people here, 690 likes. You know what else? Check this out. We were right. A good way to hedge, right? Remember the Kalshi bet we made? So I made $6. I made 12%. So a 12% return yesterday. We did the Kalshi bet for the 69.75 or above. We said no. We sort of based that off our technical analysis, and that thing hit 12%. It's a good return technically. In terms of dollars, we went pretty small, so it's $5. But in terms of percentage point returns, not bad. I sort of enjoyed that yesterday. Maybe we can look for that again today at the end of the stream. But yeah, we'll be tracking this portfolio, and I'll be giving away the stuff that I bought, or any money I make here, I'll be doing giveaways. Now, I'm not going to do a $5 giveaway. Maybe we do it like after each month. But I want to have fun with this, right? As a group, try to put together some predictions and then give back to the community with it. It should be fun. But yeah, that was a good one yesterday. I lost money trading, but we were right in terms of our thesis, in terms of our idea, in terms of our prediction. So that's good. It's a way I'm going to continue to try to see what I can do with it, right? Why not? If I can couple my technical analysis and levels with predictions, I think that's quite an advantageous opportunity. All right. So with that said, let's jump into some stocks. Tesla. So yesterday, Tesla, I was saying, it wasn't breaking 414.50, but look what it did yesterday, and this one hurts. This one hurt me yesterday more than anything. I wasn't paying attention to Tesla close enough. I wasn't really locked in on this 414.50 level. I should have been. This was incredible. Nothing short of incredible. Perfect failure right under our 2021 highs. Look at this little pop and fade right here at around 1050, 1056. Absolutely perfect pop and fade right into our 414.50 level. And that thing went down almost $15 per share from that point. That is a fantastic opportunity yesterday on Tesla. Congratulations if anyone caught that. I would have loved to see that pop and fade back into that level today, but unfortunately, it does not look like you are going to get that. That would be the A+ short right up here, but I'm not sure if you're going to see that today. Looking down on Tesla, there is some sketchy areas below. I will say that. There are definitely some sketchy areas below. Below 396, which is this high right here, you are going to see probably downside towards at least these lows on the daily chart around 383, 382.78. Let's call it 383. If you break under that 396, I would say 383 is very possible. That is also going to be the daily 200 SMA. So what I would be looking for today is a failure below 396. If we get a nice clean rejection of that level today, I think I would look to drive that lower towards 383 and the daily 200 SMA. That would definitely be a trade I'm looking for. Now, if Tesla traps these lows, sort of bounces aggressively, then I like this to pop into 414.50, and then I love the re-entry short. So this to me is the better re-entry short at 414.50 at these lows right here. But if you are just sort of insanely weak today on Tesla and you break 396, I definitely could see more downside coming in here. If you look at the weekly chart, you can really see on the weekly chart there's not much until like this high here at 373, 367. So under 396 today, I think you could go to these lows at 383. Under that, you're going to 373. And there is definitely some opportunity to be looking at here on Tesla. So big time watch today, Tesla. When it starts to move like this, it's worth watching. And it has begun to move much better. NVIDIA, nice downside move yesterday. If we go to the 4-hour chart, look at what we're looking at here. Look at this 4-hour rejection that's showing up. Check this out. Previous lows into highs, 177, 178. That's a nice little rejection that's showing up this morning. Check this out. Right here, right here. So for me, this is the best short entry on a pop and fade right here, right? Little pop and fade, 177, 178. That to me is the best entry point. Down to, where's the target to the downside? I would say 170 and the daily 200. So for me, I'm not really interested in shorting down into that daily 200. I would prefer some kind of pop in the 177, 178. AMD. Okay, so this one is going to be something we have to watch. This one is going to be interesting. Okay, so AMD has a massive gap. Massive. From 203 to 170. That is a 30-point gap on AMD. That is like, what is that? That's like a 12% gap on AMD right now. This is a huge move. What is it actually from where we're currently sitting? 15% to the downside. So, really big opportunity, right? Now, there's some daily lows in the way that I would be very careful of here. So I have every daily low marked out. I have 199.80. I have 197.53, and I have 194.28. These are daily lows that I would be careful of if you are looking to short this gap fill. Below 194.28 is where I think it becomes very easy, where it really starts to flow. That is the last daily low that's sort of holding on. Below that, you would probably trade right to this 186.65, and below this high, you're probably going to see the 170 gap fill. So what I would be careful of today is just making sure you're watching some of these daily lows, right? You can see right now you are reacting at them. So you have a reaction coming in at 197.53. You have a potential, you could react maybe at the 199.80 spot. But under this 194.28, this is where I would be very interested. If it's not below that, I would be very careful of some of these daily lows reacting and sort of popping AMD higher. It's a very extended downside move. I would want to see some kind of a pop and fade result somewhere, maybe at this 206 high. But for now, I'm just going to monitor. I'm not like sold on chasing this downside yet unless you break under 194.28 today. Okay, MU. I like MU down towards the daily 20. I'm sorry, down towards, actually it's at the daily 20. I meant this level right here, this 350 spot. I quite like 350 on MU as a potential target. If I look at the 4-hour chart, the only big previous highs I see here on the 4-hour chart are right here. Highs, lows. And that to me would be a very realistic target on MU at 350. Now for now, you are holding previous day low on MU. So you can see right here, previous day low is holding. And that's a spot that you do not want to be short into. So MU 364, be careful of that low. I would prefer a pop and fade. I would like to see if MU can maybe reject the daily 20 SMA. If that can happen, then possibly shorting this back towards the 363.90 and possibly towards our gap fill. Not our gap fill, but our key level below. Yesterday, our thesis was incredible shorting MU 428. You can watch how I got faked out of that trade in my video from yesterday. That one hurt. But a beautiful thesis yesterday. WDC right at the major inflection point here. Major inflection point here for WDC. This is definitely one of my top watches. I'm pretty much watching all memory names today. MU, SNDK, WDC. I am watching all three of those because those have been sort of astronomical. And if they start to unravel, there's going to be big opportunity. So 255 on WDC is a massive spot here. This is previous day lows. If you break previous day lows in 255 on WDC, I think you can easily trade towards 241 in the daily 20 SMA. So for me today, just watching WDC, watching it under 255, but also being very careful of the traps that could be set at previous day low. SNDK, another one that I'm watching for some potential downside today. You guys can see right here, we failed this 614. We fell through this sort of gap towards this 584. And what I'm looking for today is basically a break and retest rejection of previous day lows at 584. If we get this break and retest rejection, if SNDK stays weak under 584, that would be a very interesting trade for me. This is the low here at 555 that's holding. Breaking that, you'd trade to 533. And so basically, I'm just looking for break and retests of PDL here on SNDK at 584. That's really my main watch of the day. I think a target back down to this 500 spot is very realistic. And you can also see, I think, a pullback towards the daily 20 is a very realistic look. So what I'm going to be sort of searching for are the memory names showing weakness? Does SNDK fail 584? And I'm pretty much just trading SNDK with shares. I'm not trading it with options. These moves are big enough to make money with shares. These are wide moves and very nice averages, very nice ranges. So no options for me on this name, but if I can see maybe a failure at 584 today, I would look to take another entry point for that downside move. Okay. Meta failed yesterday, sort of as we expected, off that 693 spot. Not much of a fan of Meta today into this daily 20, daily 50. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Meta today into that daily 20, daily 50. A little bit careful there. For me, the short has to be here at 677.68. So for me, not much on Meta there. Amazon, not too much on Amazon either. You're down at this low. Again, I would need a retest. Everything I need a retest rejection of PDL. All right. Here's a retest rejection of PDL that's possible. I would look for that to happen. A retest rejection of PDL, that could be something to look for. But Amazon has earnings today, so probably not something I'm searching for today. Google had earnings yesterday. It moved lower into a major demand level. I don't think I would be short into this major low right here. All these lows, not sure I'd want to be short into that. So that's another one I might leave alone. Microsoft, this one's interesting. This is a large cap tech stock that I would be watching today. This could be perfection. I hope it is. If you see a Tuesday and Wednesday low rejection here like this is fantastic for the gap fill play. Fantastic. I would absolutely be watching Microsoft today. This is probably one of my top watches. Break and retest rejection 408.56. Previous Tuesday and Wednesday lows into rejection points. Give me that. Give me gap fill. That would be what I'm looking for there. Coinbase. I wanted to point out Coinbase because it's just doing something that is perfect on a daily basis, and that is it keeps rejecting the exact previous low. So here's a low, rejection. Here's a low, rejection. Here's a low, Do we get a rejection there? That's something I would be looking for today. Do we get a rejection at the previous lows on Coinbase? The same thing it's been doing for like an entire week, right? Look at this. Here's lows, rejection. Here's lows, failure. Lows, failure. Lows, failure, right? So if we get a little pop and rejection at this low, I think that's another great trade to continue this downtrend. Okay, I have a few more. The next one is Netflix. If you guys remember from yesterday, what were we talking about? We said Netflix is too far down. We want a retest of 82.11. Look what Netflix has done. It has retested 82.11 on the dot. Why 82.11? Take a look at this daily chart on Netflix. See this? Here, 82.11. Also here, 82.11. Look what Netflix is doing today. 82.11. If Netflix rejects 82.11, there is definitely some opportunity back to the downside. I would be careful of this low from Tuesday, but if you fail this level and start to see weakness, then downside continuation is very, very interesting. Why so much volume on the SPY? It's because it's an active day, man. You're in the heat of something. This is what happens when you start to get these pullbacks. You're in the heat. It's real time now. Things are going to get interesting. But that's good. These are great trading moments. 82.11, big watch today. Let's see if that fails. The other two I want to point out, Palantir and Hood. So I have some weekly levels I want to show you on Palantir. If you check out this weekly chart on Palantir, look at this weekly low right or weekly high right here. See this weekly high? Big spot. So that is possibly a target for me at 125.41, right there at this weekly high. So how do I get to that weekly high? Well, to me, I need to see a break under previous day lows. If I see a break and retest rejection under previous day lows at 135.68, then I could look for that weekly level to be my target. So that is definitely something I'm watching there. And then the last one I'm watching today is Hood. I have a weekly level on Hood, which is right here at 66.91. 66.91 looks like a very realistic weekly high to be targeting. How do I get to that level? I need to reject this high right here at 77.80. If you zoom in onto the short-term time frames today, take a look at 77.80 yesterday. Look at the hold that came in at that exact level. Look at the pre-market hold that came in at that exact level. And look at the failure that you're getting below that today. So if I see Hood reject 77.80 today, then I really like the potential look to that 67 spot and that weekly high. That's another one that I'll be watching today. Okay, so pretty much, moral of the story, I am watching this Hood and Palantir move. I'm watching the AMD gap area. I'm watching the Microsoft gap area. And I'm watching the MU, SNDK, and WDC moves because they've been so, such strong upside moves, and I'm looking to see if they unravel at all. But for now, the moral of the story again is that you do not want to be short into previous day low on the NASDAQ futures. That is definitely a spot that I would be very careful shorting into, okay? All right, so what I want to do now is I want to look at some predictions. If you guys press that like button for me, subscribe to the channel. Let's see if there's anything we like on here today. I don't like the price range ones. I don't like those. Price today at 4 p.m. Here we go. All right, so what are we thinking here? So you could make the prediction that this low holds today. I definitely like the NASDAQ. I like the ES to stay under this structure here, that daily 50. That's 69.30. So on the SPX, that is basically this end of day. That's like 6,900 SPX. Yeah, that's like 6,900 SPX. That was where we squeezed into yesterday. Let's see. What's the 6,900? 6,900 or above, and I say no. That's not a bad return. I like SPX to stay under 6,900 today. That would be staying below pretty much yesterday's closing price. I like the 69.30 as well. 69.25. Do we get a little aggressive and go 6,900? Maybe put a smaller amount on it? 69.30. I definitely like us staying below that. Yeah, I think I'm going to hold off on the prediction today, because I'm a little bit careful that this low is just a massive recovery, and I don't want to be stuck in that. So today I'm going to hold off on the predictions. I'm going to be careful with these. I'm going to be smart about them. I think you definitely could play the 6,900 failure on the SPX. I think that's very possible. It's not returning a bad amount right now. The 6,900, staying below it. You're getting about... You're getting about a 16... What is that? You're getting like a 10, 20... You're getting like a 25% return on that right now. So that's not a bad one, but I'm going to digress today. I'm going to hold off on it. We'll be smart. All right, guys. That's going to be it for today. Some key levels to pay attention to. Definitely pay attention to this this pre-market low and this December low on NASDAQ at 24,887. Definitely be careful of that December low on the QQQ. Be careful shorting into that. And have a fantastic trading day. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace and love.